Congratulations on purchasing your Rambo bike. We know you're eager to hit the trails and start riding, so let us help you get started with the assembly so you can be on your way. Here is the box that your Rambo bike will come in. Inside you'll find two smaller boxes, one containing your battery and the other containing your charger, keys, pedals, extra bolts and parts, and a bag containing the tools you'll need to assemble your Rambo bike. The first step will be removing the bike from the box and then proceed to remove all the packaging material from the bike. If your bike does happen to come with the battery already attached, be sure to remove it before starting the initial assembly or any other time you're doing work to your Rambo bike for safety. If you don't have a bike stand, we recommend using the edge of your Rambo box to hold the bike upright. The next step would be to attach the handlebars and headlight. Start by removing the handlebar clamp at the top of the stem with a 5mm Allen wrench. You'll then want to remove the two bottom bolts from the handlebar clamp because we'll be replacing these in the next step. Place the handlebars into the stem and then replace the clamp using your 5mm Allen wrench to tighten the two top bolts down. Do not tighten them down completely because you'll want to leave some space until we attach the headlight. You can grab the extra parts that were included in your smaller Rambo box. Start by using the provided bolt and washer to attach the base plate to the headlight, and then inserting the two larger bolts along with the washers through the holes on one side of the headlight base plate, and then sliding the two spacers through the bolts on the other side of the base plate as shown. You can now attach the headlight to the handlebars by inserting the bolts into the empty bolt holes on the bottom of the handlebar clamp. You can use a 5mm Allen wrench to tighten the bolts all the way down. You want to do this in a cross pattern to ensure equal spacing between the top and bottom of the clamp. For the seat post, you'll want to add some general purpose grease. Start by removing the seat post and add some lubrication to the inside of the seat post tube. After applying, you can then reinsert the seat post, and you'll want to make sure that it's tightened enough so it doesn't turn from side to side. We recommend installing the front fender before installing the front tire. You can grab the extra parts that were included in your smaller Rambo box. Start by taking the extra bolt and washer and inserting it through the front fender and then attaching it to the front forks. After inserting it, you can hand tighten the nut on the other side, and then you can tighten it all the way down with a 5mm Allen wrench and a 10mm open-ended wrench. You can then use the extra small bolts and washers provided to attach the front fender towards the lower end of the forks. Slide the fender mounts towards the outside of the fork and use a 4mm Allen wrench to tighten them in place on both sides of the forks. The correct installation will look as shown. Next, you'll want to rotate the LCD screen downwards. You may need to use a 2.5mm Allen wrench to loosen the bolts slightly. This is to protect the screen when you flip the bike upside down to attach the front tire. Start by removing the protective plastic piece between the front forks and the plastic piece between the base caliper. You can also remove the protective plastic piece from the front tire. You can then loosen the axle nuts on both sides of the wheel and then slide the front wheel in between the front forks. Be sure the washers are aligned as shown, having one of them on the inside of the forks and the other on the outside of the forks. The outside washer will have a groove that must be inserted correctly in order for the wheel to slide into the forks. You'll also want to make sure to align the brake rotor between the pads and the caliper when inserting the front wheel. You can then hand tighten the bolts on both sides of the tire and then use an open-ended wrench to tighten them the rest of the way down. Next, you'll be attaching the pedals. You'll see that they're marked left and right. This is important because the left pedal is reverse threaded. Start by adding lubrication to the right crank arm and then inserting the right pedal into the crank arm and then rotate it clockwise to tighten. Then use a 15mm wrench to tighten it the rest of the way down. You can then repeat these steps for the left pedal except rotating it counterclockwise to tighten. Now with your bike in the upright position, you can connect the two wires from the controls to the hub motor. Start by removing the protective plastic piece and then aligning the two arrows as shown and then pressing them together until they're fully secure. We recommend using electrical tape to bind the two connectors to prevent any unwanted disconnection. You can then use the zip ties provided to secure the wires to the base and top of the front forks. This is recommended to prevent any snagging of the wires when you're riding. You can then slide in any extra slack from the wire through the top of the frame. You can now rotate the LCD screen back in position and tighten it down with a 2.5mm Allen wrench. You'll want to ensure that the handlebars are tightened. To do this, stand over the front tire tire and hold it in between your legs and try to rotate the handlebars from side to side. If they move independently from the tire, you can then tighten the 2 bolts down on either side of the stem with a 5mm Allen wrench. If any of the fender connectors became loose during installation, you can reinsert the fender back into the connector and tighten it down with a 3mm Allen wrench. After completing the assembly and your battery is fully charged, you can then reattach the battery to your bike. You are now ready to head out on your first ride with your Rambo bike. We do recommend watching our quick before you ride video. It will quickly show you how to correctly set up and operate your Rambo bike before your first ride. Congratulations again on purchasing your Rambo bike. Be sure to follow and tag us on social media with your Rambo bike adventures.